Okay, we are live. Yeah, over to you, Zach.
Okay, so hello to those of you willing to spend a little time to attend this guest interview. I welcome you to O's profile. So today I was joined by a very special guest. Huh? Live already, right? Sorry. Okay. Sorry, technical problem a bit. So today I was joined by a very special guest.
Zach,
He is
Zach,
the
Zach.
pardon.
You have to mute your whatever is playing. Eh?
Me already, yeah.
Okay, okay. Sorry, sorry.
Yeah, okay. So it's technical problem a bit. So today I was joined by a very special guest. He is the founder of BlackGrid, a SEO firm that is located in Los Angeles, Mr. Nabil Jalil. So, how are you recently, Mr. Nabil?
I'm good. I'm good. Pleasure to be on this call with you, Zach, and also Tira. Thanks for having me. I've been feeling rather well. A really busy week for the past week, but Saturday is a good day to rest and sometimes to have this kind of discussion. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm very grateful that you can attend our little guest interview as well. So, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself, Mr. Nabil?
Sure. So my name is Nabil Jalil, and of course, you made a good introduction of me. I am the founder of BlackGrid, a search engine optimization company. I mean, we do digital marketing, but our main bread and butter in business is we help companies to basically rank or give better visibility on their websites. That strategy is called search engine optimization. So I've been doing that for the past 6 years because it's 2021 now. I started a company in the US in Los Angeles specifically about in the year of 2015, right after graduation. I've been doing that for the past 6 years, and my team has been growing. And now, for I think about a year and a half, we've been expanding our presence in Malaysia as well, specifically in Kuala Lumpur.
See. So, from what I understand that you finish your when you are young, yeah, you finish your Bachelor of Science, industry engineering and monitoring in the international market in the monitoring in international marketing in the US, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
So go ahead.
so I just wonder that what makes you shift from that to become a SEO specialist?
Okay, so that's a good question. It's kind of weird to see an engineer all of a sudden change their profession to do business, and at the same time to do something really away, like specifically in search engine optimization. But prior to 6 months before graduation, I was sold to this idea of having this nomad lifestyle or laptop lifestyle. Like, hey, if I just have my laptop, I'd be in Bali or somewhere and I can make money from it. Why don't I try and do something like that, right? And then so I started to learn how to code, but very simple one, HTML, CSS, just to build websites, not the C++ programming and all that. I'm not that good. So I started to build websites. When I built those kind of websites, I was selling different kinds of stuff, but the problem was I didn't get the chance to get traffic to the website. My competitors were getting traffic. And as a college student, we don't really have a lot of money, right? So I couldn't afford to spend money on the ads, like Facebook ads at that time. So I was looking like, okay, they are getting traffic, but there's this thing called organic traffic. At that time, it was very alien to me. What is that all about? And then I found out that actually for you to be able to get organic traffic, you would have to do SEO. So then I learned about SEO. I went to a lot of conferences. I took a couple of courses, learned some things on YouTube. And I actually got a couple of mentors where I actually bugged them quite some time after meeting them a few times in conferences. I say, hey, could you be my mentor? And I work for you for free. Don't worry. I have this level of skills. I want to increase it, but I'll do whatever I can to help you out. And then after a couple of times, they just said like, okay, I guess my persistence paid off. And they said, okay, but I worked a couple of months only. And then it was closer to my graduation, and he said to me like, you have a decision. I don't think you would want to continue working for me like this, and I'm pretty sure you have your own ambition, so why don't you start your own consulting firm to do something similar? Because the mentor was actually in Miami, I was in Los Angeles. So I was like, okay, why don't I try something like that? Because it was a bit weird for me to start the business like that, because but somehow I think the stars sort of aligned. Because just give you a little bit of context, as an international student studying in the US, you cannot work or start a business that is outside of your major. Meaning, if you study engineering, you have to work or do a business in engineering. But I was lucky that the industrial engineering, by definition, is a study of optimizing businesses and systems, right? And then I also have a minor in international business and marketing. So those two things combined, I started an LLC. So that description was written as a consulting company that helps local businesses optimize their search engine optimization. So after I submitted that and everything was okay, I got the green light, and there it is. So I started the company. But of course, it is not as easy as it sounds. There's so many steps and so many things that I had to do to be able to get there. Yeah, so that's a little bit of background about myself.
I see. That when you are studying the about the SEO, kind of what year is that actually?
In the year of 2014.
Oh, 2014.
Yeah, end
That
of
time.
2014. So I graduated in March of 2015. So
Mm.
6 months before that is, I guess, in September of 2014. Yeah, September, October, around that time. Yeah,
Oh, I see.
yeah.
So, how long have you been working in this SEO industry?
I would say if you consider the time that I was studying and preparing for the company since 2014, it's close to 7 years.
7 years.
Yeah, 2014 till 2020 is 6. Now it's 2021, so it's close to 7 years, I would say. Yeah.
Wow.
But there's so many things have changed, so many things have improved. So even if you say that I have like 7 years of experience, there's so many new things that I'm learning. Like for example, now we have to learn how to do SEO for voice type of
Mm.
like search, right? Uh,
Yes.
yeah, so that's a bit different. Some websites can't cope with that, but we have to be able to do smaller changes for our clients moving forward, lah, because that's the future.
I see. So, can you tell us a little bit more about BlackGrid?
Sure. So as I mentioned, BlackGrid was incorporated in the US, specifically in Los Angeles. When I first started, I was alone, of course. I was the guy that did the SEO, who tried to get the deals, who did the strategy. After I think about close to about a year and a half or 2 years. While I was building the business, I was also doing some other side hustle as well, like trying to survive. Like I was driving for Uber. That time Uber was very new and they
Yeah.
paid quite a lot. I mean, technically I shouldn't be able to do that, but I found a loophole. And then and then I actually worked with another mentor in the areas of real estate. So that's why I guess if you know that I've written a book about search engine optimization specifically in real estate, because I was very deep in that industry, specifically in the US. I worked for him for quite a while. I say like I have this skill set. So while I learn and do this and make money with you, I'm also building my business. Because when I was starting BlackGrid, it was really hard to get clients because one, actually a few things. One is my name is Nabil. It's actually a full name is Nabil Rashad bin Abdul Jalil. So my
Mm.
name sounds Arabic or Middle Eastern, right? But my face
Ah.
looks like I'm Chinese or like I'm Latino. So they're a bit confused, like, where are you actually from? And who are you? And I was actually young at that time because, okay, 24, 25 is not considered young over there, but I mean, we Asians or Malaysians don't actually age as fast as they do, right? If you look at them when they're 25, 26, they look like they're
Yeah.
35. So with me, they thought I was 19. Like, did you even graduate from college? Yeah, I just graduated. Like, this is my school and things like that. So they were, I think the sense of trust wasn't there because it's like I'm a new kid on the block. Most of the people in the LA or Beverly Hills business community, they know each other. They
Mm.
refer business and things like that. So I was there. I attended a lot of these business networking meetings like
Mm.
BNI, like Chamber of Commerce on the tip. So while I was doing all that, um, I had to be able to increase that sense of trust. I know what I'm doing. I can do this and things like that. So I just had to keep on showing up to show like I'm serious and I'm actually trying to run a proper business. And
Mm.
then somehow there's a what do you call it? There's an opportunity came by. So there's this one networking meeting that we always have, like a 6 to 7 minute presentation from one of any of the business owners. So when it actually happened to a day, like I think about 3-4 days prior to that, like, oh, one of the speakers actually got sick and she can't make it. So they were thinking like, who else can I actually invite in this short period of time to prepare? And then they just asked me like, hey, do you want to present a bit more about SEO? And then I was like, okay, I just had to take it because this is the only chance I have, and they are sort of giving me trust, right? So I think because Zach was also part of my the Glow program last year when I thought about SEO, right? The 2-day workshop. Remember the SEO Soulmate game?
Yeah, yeah.
So I actually presented something similar like that, but more to localize in the US market. And then somehow they enjoyed it and then they feel like, okay, now I understand what SEO is. Can you talk a bit more the technicalities on how to get there? And then because of that, I actually got my first client, but that was actually, well, I think 4 months into the business, about 3-4 months into the business. It was rather long, right? And as soon as I got results for that person, and then they trust me, and then it just snowballs like that. So fast forward a little bit, about 3-4 years before I came back to Malaysia, my team consists about 7 people, including myself. There's the other guys are usually people very, very technical in SEO, where they don't want to find clients, they don't want to talk to clients. I just want to do SEO, because I
Yeah.
met them a lot in conferences, and they all tell me like, okay, maybe if you have problems in finding clients, I do not have that problem, and I know how to strategize. You just need someone to be able to do this. So I give you the nitty gritty work, which we built in a way like a manufacturing line. Like from the start, this, if we get a client, this is what we do for the first month, second month, and second week, and whatnot, and then they come in to help. So that's what we consist of. And then I have another business development guy who goes by the name Matthew, but he lives in Canada, so we work that way. But now in Malaysia, we have about 2 people, main staff. I have a local partner. His name is Shane. And then there's another person that's also helping with some of the technical aspects of things. But still, in terms of the business development or strategy, it's still me. But what I plan on doing for the next year or so is try to remove myself from the business and have someone else to use that ability, and I manage the business. Because in essence, if someone were to take me out of the business, then BlackGrid might not be able to function at 100%, right? So I have to figure out a way how to be able to do that. Then you actually have a business. If not, now you're just self-employed and you're just working for your business, right?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
That's very, very inspiring. I mean, at such a young age, and then you just it is that you are also Malaysian, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. I'm Malaysian. Yeah.
Wow, and then you just go and start a business in US. Where does this guts come from?
Okay, so I mean, right after SPM, I think I've always been interested in business. I always wanted to know, like, I want to run a business, I want to start. But like a lot of people who want to start and run a business, what business should I start or what business should I run, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
that prolonged for a couple of years, because like, okay, now you have to go to school, you have to study and things like that, and then somehow they just kept on pushing aside. And when I was there in the US, I was thinking like, okay, I'm in the US and Silicon Valley is very near. It's about maybe 7 hours drive away from LA.
So,
So if I wanted to do a startup, maybe I'm at a disadvantage. Yes, my school might not be as famous worldwide, but locally is very good for engineers. It's a very good school for engineers, because 3 out of 10 engineers in the whole of California. California is actually the size of 10 Malaysia.
Oh,
I
wow.
know. I think between 5 to 7 Malaysia. And then 3 of them is actually from my school. So we were trained to be like more like a practical kind of engineers. But still, we don't have PhD programs and things like that. So if I were to enter that market, I would have to have a really good idea and a good team to be able to get funding and things like that. So I was working through different kinds of ideas and whatnot. Of course, those things don't work out. And that 6 months prior to graduation, I just like, okay, so I have a choice. Do I finish school, just go back to Malaysia and try and find like a management, like this management program where you go into 2 years and then you become a manager,
Yes.
right? In Malaysia,
Yes,
there's
yes.
quite a lot of that. It's either I do that, or I find something that I want to do here, or I find a job in the US, and that, or I could just take this risk that I've always wanted to do, and I found a way on how to do it. So I just have to take that leap of faith. So at that time, of course, I was thinking there's a lot of risk. Okay, if I go do this, that's so I might not be able to get paid. I don't know when I'm gonna be able to see it go through. But I think what pushed me was this. I knew I had this opportunity. Not many people have it, and the fact that I've always wanted it, I would rather go into this and fail, and rather than I don't go into this and somehow at my age now I think about it like, what if I started that company then? Like, what would happen?
Ah,
Yeah, so I think that pushed me to be able to make the decision. Okay, yes, and actually it's a good decision that I made, because um, after a couple, I think half a year of into the business, my at that time my family wasn't doing very well financially. I did not know. I was kept in the dark because I was in the US. They didn't want
I
to like
see.
make me scared, but eventually after that, I had to be the main person to help financially in the family, because nobody, my brother was still studying, so the business actually helped us to carry on with us. So if for example I were to go back in Malaysia and I work, that might not have been able to help my family
Mm.
financially, because I was earning in the USD, right? It's like four times
Correct.
more. So even if I don't earn as much, because in the business you have to keep on investing some of the money to
Yep.
let it grow. So I used some of that to be able to help my family back home, whatever that I can do. Yeah. So somehow there's like a I would like a it's like fate, I would say, in some sense.
Mm.
But to answer your question, because if you really want it, I think you should actually explore it and see where it goes before you regret in the future that, oh, I wished I have
Mm.
done something like that. So yeah, so that pushed me to answer your question. I know it's a bit long-winded. I apologize for that.
I learned a lot. Okay,
Yeah.
very cool, very cool. Mm.
So just now, Mr. Nabil, you mentioned that you written a book about SEO, right?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. So what is the title for that book?
Okay, give me 1 second.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the book actually. I mean, I have a library, so I put a lot of my books there. So the book is called Money Matters.
Mm.
It's called World Leading Entrepreneur Reveal Their Top Tips to Success. But this book is specifically in the real estate edition. I mean, you can find it on Amazon.
Mm,
And what this book talks about is basically for real estate investors, real estate professionals, or people who are interested in real estate. And a lot
Mm.
of the authors inside the book represent specific areas of expertise. If there's a construction person in there that talks specifically about construction, everything that he has learned or has done business in the past 20, 30 years in Beverly Hills and Los Angeles, he shares that. My specific portion talks a little bit about SEO. If you
Mm.
understand about SEO, search engine optimization is a very long-term digital marketing strategy. So
Yes.
if you do things in 3 or 4 months, you can't really see much of the results. But what I taught in the book was you can actually get short-term gains while building up your SEO. So in the book, I wrote a specific example on how if you are in real estate, doesn't matter if you're in construction, if you're an investor, or you're a lawyer, or even an accountant,
Mm.
specifically in real estate, you can use this example that I've given in written in the book, and it's basically what we do in our business. I broke it down into pieces and tell them this is how you can actually do it, and then you can get short-term and long-term gains from there. So even though this book is specifically in real estate, but the example can actually be used across different industries, because the principle is still the same.
Mm.
I see. So basically, I when I first saw the book, I actually thought it is purely for real estate. I didn't expect that you include like something about SEO in there.
I understand. Yeah. Most people thought about it that way, but I mean, the story behind writing this book came to happen because of Adam Torres. I didn't think about wanting to write a book at that time. I was like, I think 27, 20. Yeah, I think about three. Let me see. Oh yeah, about 3.5 years ago. I wasn't thinking like, okay, if I were to write a book, who's going to listen to what
It's
I
going
have
to
to
read.
say, right?
Huh.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there's so many other people who can write books or who have been in the SEO world for like maybe 20, 30 years, who've been speakers all around. Yeah, I can create results, but who's going to think of me as an authority figure? So this person, Adam Torres, the main co-author, I mean, we belong in the same kind of like business networking groups, and he was saying like, hey, Nabil, like I'm writing this book, and there's this portion where we have a digital marketing, a social media, and also SEO. And I know a couple of people that can do SEO really well, and you're one of them. And before I approach anyone else, do you want to be part of this book? And then
Wow.
I was like, you want me to write a book? Yeah. Just like you have your own portion. You talk about what your area is. I know you do have a lot of clients in real estate. That's why I think you're a good fit. I was like, give me a day or two to think about it whether I can. Because I was like, what do you need from me then? So all I need from you, you just write whatever it is that you think is okay within our framework, and then after that you give it to me and we'll do everything on our end to get the book published. I was like, okay. And then an hour after that, after I met him, I actually thought like, I mean, this is like a one in a lifetime thing. Like somebody came to offer
Yes.
you. Why am I still thinking? It's not I have to
Yeah.
go through this. And I just called him. Hey, I'm not going to think anymore about this. I'm going to do it with you. So let me know how to start. And it's like, great, okay, good. I'll catch you up next week and let you know what I need from you. So that's how it started. I think that conversation happened in March of 2018, and we published the book in September 2018. And in September, the book actually became number one in the real estate category on Amazon for a couple of weeks. Yeah.
I see. So, actually, BlackGrid is located, like you mentioned that, located in the Los Angeles, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just wonder that, how do you manage, currently you are in Malaysia, right?
Yeah. Currently, I'm in
Yeah.
Malaysia. I can't go
So,
back
so
yet.
I, yeah, so I just wonder that how do you manage, your company in the Los Angeles, in Malaysia, because of the time difference?
Right. Okay. That's a good question. I think the first 3 or 4 months, it was really a challenge for me. When I first came back, I actually worked around 10 p.m. up till about 3, 4 a.m. in the morning. And during the day, I would rest a little bit or try to go out and do business development. So it was really tough at that time. It's like I didn't get enough sleep and all that because I need to be up and awake when my client is over there. But after a
Mm,
while, when what I realized is as long as I have proper communication channels within my team and also to my clients, they won't have the feel like, oh, I'm scared that Nabil's not around. Like, is everything going okay? But the first 3 and 4 months when I was back in Malaysia, that was a challenge. And then, but to be able to handle it is having more communication. Like, okay, these are the set of things that I need you guys to do, and this is what maybe you need from me, and we just plan it out. And then for clients wise, we just have to over communicate because sometimes if we don't actually say certain things, they might have to wonder like, oh, if is it like this, is it like that? So we have to stop the clients from actually overthinking. We just lay it out everything for them. And then that was in end of 2018. But I actually went back to the US in April 2019, and I went there about a month and a half, and actually handled. I met them again in person, like, hey, I'm back and all that, because our clients not just in Los Angeles, but also in Cleveland, in New York, different places. So I think the reason why it works is because in the US, people are quite adept to knowing that, okay, I can actually get a good service from a company that's like maybe so far away from me. Like, for example, if you were to fly from Los Angeles to New York, it'll take you about, actually, I think how many hours? Like 6 to 7 hours worth of flight, I think,
That's true
right?
flight lah.
Yeah, through flight. But if you were to
Wow.
drive, it'll take you 2.5 days.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
so they don't mind the fact that they have to work with you remotely as long as you can deliver on your work. So it's a bit different landscape because in the US they like to hire specialists, meaning you do SEO, I'll hire you for that, and I hire another company that do social media. even if my company does social media, I'm not going to pay you for it because that's not what you are best at, right? So I'll find some other company and you work together and help me. In Malaysia, it's very different. Okay, you do SEO. Okay, right. Okay, you do social media. Yes, yes, yes. You do social media. Can you do this? And after that, can you package it together and give me a
Yes,
discount?
yes. One-stop service can.
So it's always like that. So the first year when we came back, we were used to having like a very customized proposal. We go into it, we add value upfront and things like that. But when we came back to Malaysia, people were just a bit not sure, like, what am I actually going into? Can't you just give me like your package? Like, what's your package? Like, yeah. So we develop packages and things like that. So, but somehow it's a good learning curve because now we can also offer packages to the US companies. Like, hey, if you don't want our customer proposal, you want like a very simple one, this is what you get. So it's a good mixture of both lah, I would say. Yeah.
I see. So later the Malaysian style, they can maybe like the nephew discount or something like that. Malaysian culture.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of different kind of discounts. Like, oh yeah, you know, I have this many companies. You do this one first, this discount I can give you the other two. Like, you know,
Apa pun boleh.
apa pun boleh, yeah. Yeah, but it's an interesting journey to do SEO in Malaysia because we picked a different route. It's harder, but now it has become quite easy where instead of our sales calls, our sales meetings that we go to, instead of just selling, this is our package, is what you get. Rather than that, we use a little bit more of like an educational process. This is what SEO is all about. This is what you're going to expect to see. These are the things that you need to avoid. Even if you don't go with me, it's fine. You need to know all this. So they appreciate that. Okay, then I think. But when I first started, of course, I talked too much about it, and then in the end they'll be like, I don't need to know all this. I just need to know it's going to make me money or it's not going to make me money.
True.
Most business owners that think like that because yeah, I understand. I'm also a business owner. It's quite busy, right? But we've actually compiled things and actually made it a lot better. Like we use some of the decks that we presented even in our workshop. I mean, we don't actually do a lot of those workshops unless it's really something that we find that we can help or actually is a good thing for us because our main major business is to help clients, right? So some of those things actually when I presented, we compile it and we do like a 15-minute introduction. This is SEO, this is what you need to do. Then after that, if they are interested, they know what they are getting themselves into, then it's only a good time to talk about packages or even how to move forward. Because if you don't understand that, sometimes they just like, I think I need SEO, but sometimes they don't. Sometimes they do need SEO, but they just think like, oh, I just need to take any other package and everything's all right. But it's actually not the truth. Not anyone or any company can just do SEO the right way. A lot of companies can do SEO, but whether they can deliver results, that's one question. Two is whether they are doing it the right way or not.
True.
So just now you mentioned about the workshop, right?
Yeah.
Do you present the same way you using the soulmate method?
No. The soulmate method is for workshop purposes only. So for the sales meeting and sales call, we present a little bit more of like a bit more professional. Unless if I feel that towards the end of the call and they are a bit more relaxed and a bit more understanding, then okay, I can open that up. But if not, I'll just tell what's the difference, what's SEO and SEM, what do you actually need and things like that. So I have to gauge first, but of course more formal presentation than the SEO soulmate game I presented to you lah, of course, right?
Yeah. So can you tell me more about the soulmate game presentation?
Yeah, so okay, so I guess for the viewers to understand what this SEO soulmate game is all about, so I started to do this SEO soulmate game is because trying to understand the basic essence or the basic principle of SEO. So technically SEO, so since I don't have the deck to share with you today, right? So I'll just try to make a very simple analogy that's similar to the SEO soulmate game. So when you go to high school or in sekolah menengah or sekolah rendah, whatever it is, right? There are always popular kids, regular kids, and budak-budak pelik or misfits.
Yes, right? Correct.
So it's really like that. So you're friends with anyone and all that.
I want a budak pelik.
Yeah, it's okay. Sometimes that pelik can be very, very popular also, right?
Mm.
Yeah. So usually the popular kids, right, they are very close to the teachers. They always get opportunities like, let's say, to go camps and things like that. Teachers will
Yeah.
think about them first, and sometimes maybe teachers will give them extra marks on papers, will be more lenient, trying to give them test papers, right? Sometimes not all the time. There are perks of being popular, but how is it for regular kids like us want to get popular, or even misfits? How do we actually get popular? The easiest and the fastest way is actually to have these popular kids to start talking about us, right? Once they start, hey, who is that? Who is that? Who Zach is okay. And then after that, they just start chatter. And then slowly like, hey Zach, come here, talk to us and things like that. And slowly but surely, your popularity and also your visibility would come up, right?
Mm.
Okay. So
Makes sense.
now, okay, so you now understand this the concept of high school, right? So now you changed high school as the internet. Now the popular kids, you change it to popular websites. When I say
Okay.
popular websites, I say CNN or
Mm.
Huffington Post or even Bernama News or Awani
Mm.
or even any of the popular websites, right? So
Yeah.
imagine those popular websites, and then you have like a um, regular business website or a blog. When all
Mm.
these popular websites are talking about you, it will give you the same effect.
I see. So that's pretty clever actually.
That's technically SEO.
Yeah. So that's
There
very
are,
clever. I just wonder that how do you think of that? How inspires you?
well, so the SEO Soulmate game, I think I got a few examples. I've seen some people presented it in a different way. I've
Oh.
seen it in like that. So I was thinking like, okay, if they are doing all this, why don't I try to make it very simple? Because as my understanding at that time, SEO is very technical. But
Mm.
if I start talking about technical things, people would just get lost. Like, what
Yeah.
are you talking about? So
Yeah.
how can I try and make it very, very simple and they understand the concept? But of course, when we want to go a bit deeper, at least they are already interested to know. But in
Mm.
essence, that is SEO. So I just wanted to make it as simple as possible. If I can explain it to my grandmother
Mm.
about this
Oh.
and she understand what SEO is, then I'm pretty sure I can explain it to a kid or even a business owner, right?
Makes
So
sense.
that was the reason why I thought about trying to develop something like that. I want to make it very simple for anyone to understand, but at the same time it still meets the criteria of what is SEO.
I
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, but of course, when I say popular websites talk about you, it's not just talk about you. There's like
Mhm.
backlinks, there's anchor
Yeah.
tags and things like that, right? But
Ah, I see.
just imagine that these websites are somehow connected to you or talking about you. Then it means in the eyes of Google, they will just say like, oh, this website do deserve more popularity and more visibility. So let's give them
Mm.
a little bit more, and then they'll rate you a little bit higher. But just to go back to the SEO Soulmate game, with Zach, in that presentation slide, I showed like each of these popular people or your friends have a specific set of scores, like 0 to 100. The
Mhm.
more popular people, the more trustworthy that person is in the market, you have a
Mm.
higher value lah. But your
Mm.
Uh-huh.
your value is actually an average of the people surrounding you. That's basically it. So it's like, I'll give you an example, right?
Mm.
Let's say, for example, Zach, lah.
Mhm.
I'll just pick on you.
No
Pick on you.
problem.
Okay, so Zach, right now you have friends like, okay, regular friends who are the same age as you. So maybe they have a score of 35 to 40. Average people, it's fine. There's nothing wrong
Uh,
being average. As long as you're happy, you have what you need, the basic needs, it's fine. But somehow all of a sudden, Jack Ma is also sort of your mentor. He speaks to you once a month. And you have access to him. Jack Ma's
Mm.
score is maybe about 85 to 90 out of 100 in terms of popularity and authority scale, right?
Mm.
So you have someone like that, and for example, in during your free time, if you play badminton, who coaches you? Lee Chong Lee during his free time, he plays with you, and Lee
Wow.
Chong Lee's score is like super super high, right? So
Yeah, yeah,
now,
yeah.
so now what would happen if you try to average out the people that Zach spends in his time, right, in a month, for example, is all with his top people and his friends. So his average would slowly increase from just
Mm.
35 to 40. Now his average maybe is about 70. So
Mm.
when Google sees your average score increases like that, then Google will decide, okay, I'll give you more ranking. I will give you more visibility or more authority to be able to push out more of your content in the marketplace. That's actually how SEO really works lah.
I see.
That's how you want to tell Google like, okay, take a
Mhm.
look at my website.
Wow.
S-
Mm.
So you have been developing the in the SEO industry for quite some time in the American already, right?
Mhm.
So I just curious that what makes you want to come back to Malaysia and develop the business here?
Okay. So while I was building the business over there, I was coming to the end of like a crossroad, I would say. I have a choice of staying in the US
Mhm.
or I go back first, because at that time Trump just became president. So he
Oh,
wasn't
Mm.
really happy with immigrants trying to stay there and whatnot. So I didn't have like uh, I had the proper visa and everything to stay and run the business, but I didn't have a visa to continue to stay. Like there's H1B and a few others, and then after that you can get a green card. I haven't gotten
Oh.
to that phase yet, but my attorney or my lawyer at that time was talking about immigration. He was telling me I have a choice. You either go back and come back with a visitor's visa and come back and forth, and eventually when he gets out of office, we can apply something better for you, or we can try and apply, but for sure I know you're not going to get approved, because what he's trying to say is a lot of his clients that has been going on for the past few months before he
Mm.
advised me did not get their applications accepted. And it's not
I
only
see.
him, his friends from different states and different law firms are also experiencing the same thing. So he was saying, if I spend the money to do all this and I know that you're not going to get it at all and you're still going to go back anyways, why don't you just save your money, go back and try and come back using as a visitor visa? So I actually did that. I got the visitor visa. That's why I came back in the US in April, which is
Mm.
fine. But after my trip in April, I came back to Malaysia. I thought like, okay, maybe I should give it a really good shot to try and expand the business in Malaysia. Because when I first came back, I was really, really focused on my clients in the US. That's all I was thinking about. I wasn't thinking about really finding people. I did that, but I met a lot more people. I started some other stuff with some friends. Like I was exploring because I haven't been back in Malaysia, I think, for quite some time. I was in the US from 2011 up till 2018. And out of the 7 years, I only came back to Malaysia twice. So I
Mm.
had to catch up with friends and how things are in Malaysia. So it became quite interesting. So I got a bit distracted in terms of expanding in Malaysia until I came back the second time and I realized maybe I should give it a shot. When I actually did that, I got connected with a few of the VC firms in Malaysia, and
Mm.
they say like, why don't you pitch your company and get funding and grow the company here? I was like, I'm a service-based business. Usually
Mhm.
VCs, venture capital companies, will only um, put money in startups that can scale and whatnot. In my case, if I want to scale, I just need to get more clients and get more team members.
True.
Eventually, it will come to a point where it's not really that scalable, right? Because people are going to the
Mm.
company because of me and because of the team. So he said, it's okay. Why don't you productize one of your offerings? So for example, we have like an audit
Yeah.
of software that we can give out to our clients. And so he was saying like, why don't you try and figure out a way how to charge that? And so we strategize on how to present. So we presented to MDEC, to SME Corp, to a few. There's this one day like we went to a few tables. Now I thought like, okay, this is quite fun, and we got quite good feedback. And then give us some ideas like, okay, this is the actual market and things like that. So we spent a lot more time digging into like, okay, let's give Malaysia a shot. And after learning for quite some time, like, okay, Malaysia is actually a little bit behind, yes, about 3 to 4 years, but eventually people would still want our services, our type of services, and will grow to become a mature market. In the
Mm.
US, it's already a mature market, right?
Yeah.
In Malaysia, it's not there yet. If you ask
Yes.
about SEO, like, what is that? I don't even know. I know Facebook ads. I know everyone need to run a Facebook ads. It's very, very popular
Mm.
because Facebook in Malaysia is one of the highest number in
Yes.
Asia, that for people who have actually accounts. That's one, and people do spend a lot on Facebook ads. But they don't know much about Google AdWords or
Mhm.
SEO, but it's there.
Mm.
Some companies are doing it. So we realize that, okay, eventually it will get to a point where people are tired and need more leverage than just Facebook ads. You need to find something else. So
Mm.
when that time comes, we need to be able to brand BlackGrid as the leading company to do this, right? So for us to be able to do that, we have to be more active in the marketplace. We have to keep on seeing people and all that. So eventually it will get there. And there are studies by SME Corp, Huawei and all that, actually all those kind of data actually supported our hypothesis that it's going to get to that point. And then somehow also, and like COVID happened, right? That
Yeah.
accelerated a lot of companies trying to see digital marketing is a need. It's not a matter of choice anymore. If you don't do digital marketing, then you're going to be left behind. So when we had that projection, maybe 3 to 4 years, eventually it will become a mature market. I think it has accelerated a little bit, maybe by 1 year, by 2 years, who knows, right?
Yep.
So and that has actually translated to a lot of our inquiries also in Malaysia. So we met a lot of companies, and all of a sudden they came, hey, actually we've spoken like 9 months ago. I think it's time for us to be serious and we want to do SEO. What's our next step? So that actually improved for us in sometime in I would say June last year. And then the second MCO or CMCO happened at the end of the year.
Yes.
After that, people were also gone, like all these business owners become crazy, like, okay, I want to know because I want to plan for my next year, give me a quote and all this. So it has been rather positive. So even though I can't go back to the US yet, I was planning actually to go back last year. But I guess the earliest I can go is after I get vaccinated or something, maybe at the end of the year or next year. So our focus is really in the Malaysian market to have more Malaysian business to use and harness the power of SEO instead of just relying on a few sources.
So in the Malaysian market, what is your biggest challenge in that?
The level of education about SEO. That's the biggest challenge, right? In the US, they understand what SEO is. Even if it's not a lot, it's okay. They know sort of the average pricing or why certain pricing are that way. But in Malaysia, the sales cycle, the sales process is a bit longer because there's a sense of educational process that has to go to it. This is what you need to know. This is what you're supposed to do. This is what you expect. And then once you give them a quote, like, oh, why so expensive? Is it because your company is in the US and you're charging us a lot? No. This is one of the reasons why. So the educational process is a bit longer. And then we have to also educate that, okay, there are companies in Malaysia that does good SEO, but they're actually doing the black hat tactics, right? Right. So there are a lot of our current clients right now who are actually previously from other SEO companies' clients. And then once they stop paying them, when they get the results, whatever, they lost their traffic overnight. They lost their traffic, they lost their rankings and everything. And when we actually do the link detoxing, when we actually went to it, they have like very spammy links, like some point links and even things that you don't even expect. Why are they doing all this? It works in the Malaysian market because not many people would actually report to Google where they get a manual penalty or the algorithm just detects, right? They can somehow mask it. So the thing about that is it's not sustainable. Meaning sometimes they pay a bit cheaper, yes, but after you stop paying them, you lose everything lah. But the way that we do things is we follow the white hat tactics. It's a bit more the right way of doing things lah. So even if you disengage with us after 6 months or 9 months together, what we've built will be sustainable and at the same time it's yours. We shouldn't be us all of a sudden we just pull out all the links from you and then you don't have anything. Yeah. So that's something that in actuality it could be our competitive advantage because these companies have experienced the power of SEO, but they lost it and they don't know why. And then when we actually go see it and it makes sense, then okay lah, we have to do it the right way. Let's do it with you. Yeah. So some of the challenges actually become like a blessing, I would say. So yeah.
So actually, you talk about the SEO education in the Malaysia, right? So I just wonder that how would you educate like Malaysian the Malaysian business that are not very familiar with the SEO?
So how we educate them is basically two ways. Right? One of the ways that we always do is that we are quite active on LinkedIn. My partner always posts a lot of things on LinkedIn where we share results, we share strategies and things like that. And then that's one, right? So once we pique their interest, we can get them on a call. Then once we get them on a call or a meeting, at least we can share with them like this whole point of a call is for us to give you an introduction to SEO, to know whether is this what you really want, because we don't want to work with clients who think like I need SEO, but in the end they want something else, right?
Yeah,
Then it's
correct.
better for the client and also for us, because if we don't want them to cause problems with us later down the road, like this is not what I signed up for. No, 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 this is what you signed up for. This is on the contract, right? We've already
Yeah, then it's
explained it to
our.
you. Yeah. So I think the way of us educating is more of posting things rather than saying, oh, we got results for our clients, these are case studies. But no, we just go a little bit more on, I mean, the previous year, we did a lot of these trend reports, SEO search engine trend reports in a lot of different industries. And we actually go out and send these trend reports. Instead of selling SEO, we just say, this is the trend of the search engine. This is the keywords. Yeah, your top competitor, you want to take a look at it. So we did a lot of that, and some of them actually came back, oh, what is this SEO? Then we get them on the call. So instead of trying to just sell SEO, we just tell them the possibility, the current marketplace, and who are the players. If they see their competitors who are actually spending money already, then they will feel like, I need to be there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we just need to highlight it. We know they have these pain points. We just need it to highlight it to them in a very tactful manner. We just cannot say like, oh yeah, you suck. You all of a sudden the second page, like you need to get there. Yeah, you cannot. We just say like, okay, we want to see your competitors actually stealing this much leads from you every month. If you try to get there closer, you can take that market share. Like that's how we figure out a way on how to do it. But how to scale it further, like how are we supposed to send all these reports we've been doing, right? I think we have to eventually rely on Facebook ads to be able to build our funnel and eventually use that. But at the moment, we are about at 80%, 85% capacity in terms of clients, and we've gotten more team members to help. So hopefully we need more team members, and then grow it in a way that when we do try to scale to get more people on board, then we can actually service them, because we don't want to get clients and all of a sudden it gets out of hand and we cannot handle them, right? And at the same time, when we have this kind of like ability, at least we can choose the type of client that we know we can win for them, right? And who really needs them. Yeah.
Okay, so recently I do notice in LinkedIn that you had a Vision Matters Clubhouse session, which again the Anton Torres, right? With
Yes,
other
correct.
people around.
Yeah.
You have been involved with the School of Agility, Grid, and Entrepreneurship as well.
Yeah.
So can you share with us what is your biggest surprise in these past few months?
The biggest surprise in the first few months is, I would say, the hmm, I would say is the ability of people
Mm-hmm.
actually. Okay, so MCO has happened a couple of times,
Yeah,
right?
correct.
All these things actually came right after MCO, when MCO started. So people sort of have prepared. Okay, we know that we won't be able to meet people and all this. Now we have to to spend more time on all these
Mm-hmm.
online channels or online platforms. So all these things that I got myself into actually have the invitations actually came in when MCO happened. It was actually the same thing that happened last year in March. So the first couple of weeks, it was very dead. A lot of companies like stopped. Okay, I don't think we can invest at SEO anymore. Or when we were already in the pipeline trying to discuss how to move forward, they just say, okay, we pause and all that, right? But somehow after that, you see a lot more Zoom calls, a lot more like all of a sudden there's this session, this person talking and all that, right? So I think people are more able to adapt with this kind of changes, and it quite fast. So I think that actually is a major surprise. Like, for example, with of course when Mission Matters is actually a rebrand of Money Matters, because
Mm-hmm.
Adam was thinking like, okay, instead of just talking about money, maybe our mission matters. That's why he rebranded it. So because
Oh.
he does a lot of podcasts every day in the US
Mm-hmm.
with different kinds of business owners across the US, and then he has written a few more books with a few other authors. So he decided to just change it in that sense. But for the School of Agility, Grid and Agility.
Entrepreneurship.
Wait, School of Entrepreneurship of Grid and Agility, right? So that school is an online school where they
Mhm.
thought that okay, maybe this their students can actually benefit from SEO. So those are the kind of like different kinds of I would say initiatives or ventures that I can be part of, because
Mhm.
I think I can give back to the community that way. So I that's why when I say when I try to teach, I'll take it has to make sense to myself and also to the brand, and we actually have the impact that I want at the end of the day. Yeah.
I see. So the next question might sound a bit weird for me.
Okay.
So in your entire journey of your entrepreneurship,
Mhm.
do you have any business that you failed before? Do
Business
you?
that I failed
Mm.
before. I mean, failure is really like a very subjective, right? Some
Yeah,
people
bro.
feel like okay, when your business fails, it's like meaning you close shop, you
Mhm.
tutup your buku, and then just like okay, I'm done, and that's a failure. Sometimes people say like okay, I'll just put it on a pause on the side. That can be considered failure, but it all depends on what lens you use or how you see it, right? But
I
in
see.
terms of having, let's say for example, BlackGrid being like fail or failure, I wouldn't see it that way, but we do have our own like downturns and downtimes, right? There was a time in my business that I actually lost a lot of my clients. I would say not most, I would say all of my clients in a span of
Wow.
1 month, because of course there's a lot of different kinds of reasons, but let's not go into it. But actually
Okay,
it
okay.
came to a point where there wasn't any revenue to the company, and I was figuring out how am I supposed to pay rent and things like that. So if you consider that as a failure, then yes. But if I were to answer that question objectively to say I've started a business or a venture that failed, BlackGrid might not be, but side stuff that maybe I wanted to explore, yes. Like for example, when I came back to Malaysia in 2018, end of 2018, I started a few business with some friends, put some money here, went there. I would say 90% of them actually didn't go as
Wow.
planned. So those can be considered failures, right? But
I
those are
see.
just things I'm testing out on the side of you. Let's say you put money in the stock market, right?
Mhm.
You hope it can actually give you some returns. So yeah, so that's how I hope I answered your question.
I
But
see.
in terms of business
Uh,
failures, maybe those can be considered as failures. But in BlackGrid itself, there's a lot of ups and downs in the business in the past six years. So um, I would just use them as like a learning curve or like a way for us to get better. That's
Mm.
how I would see it.
yeah, it's pretty natural that business has is their up and down actually.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's normal, and it also
Uh,
shows you how much grit you have or how much it means to you. Because sometimes when you get hit with this kind of stuff, it's quite easy to just say like, okay lah, I just
Mm.
find something else as a backup. But at that time, I knew I didn't have any backup. Everything was hanging on my shoulders.
Mm.
I have to make it work no matter what. So even if it doesn't make sense at that time, I have to make it work, and that's my dream. So I just push through it. But of
Mm.
course, there's always pros and cons when you decide to do something like that. There's a few things that I lost in the process. There's a few things I gained in the process. But if I were to look back, I wouldn't say I've regretted it, because it's easier to see your past and say like, oh, actually it's good I made that decision. But of course, when you're in that position, it's kind of hard to see what are the pros and cons at that moment, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. So what is the back what is the next big thing that you can expect we can expect from you in the near future?
Oh, okay. So um, I would say I'm very much in tuned and entrenched myself in the digital space, meaning I've actually started a few other ventures with few other friends in the digital space, where we want to help a lot of public
Mm-hmm.
listed companies in Malaysia specifically to go through that industrial revolution cycles. Excuse me. What I mean by that is, if you're familiar, right now people are saying IR 4.0, IR,
Mm.
yeah, right? But the
Yes.
thing is, the problem is not a lot of companies can get to a point of 4.0 because they have not reached at 1.0 yet. 2.0 they have
Ah.
not reached yet, 3.0 they have not reached yet, right? So I have a venture that wants to help companies to be able to start, specifically public listed companies, in the first phase, second, the third, and the fourth. So the first stage is always you need a website first. You have a website, fine, but if it's not up to the standards of the current day and age, then you are just having like an online business card that does nothing, right? So
Yeah.
when you have a website, what you need to do next? You need to do SEO, because if not, it will just be another nice shining business card online
Yes,
you only share
yes.
with friends or with people when people ask for it. But you want people to actively go to you, and it acts like a brand anchor for you, right? So yeah, that's one. Another thing is also I have another company that does data analytics. So we have some ideas and plans to go into that as well. We've been working with each other for about a year and a half already, but it's a bit more like a high side hustle because they have like a full-time job. I have BlackGrid to focus on. So these are the main key areas. And then there's another one called Rice Bowls, actually. This is an online learning platform specifically for aspiring entrepreneurs, so entrepreneurs to learn for experts in different areas of business. So if you want to learn about SEO, if you want to learn about, let's say, accounting and things like that, there's like a live classes instead of courses that you pay. Okay, I pay $20 or 20 ringgit and you have like a breakdown. No, this is a live session where I think is our unique selling proposition, where it's, you can interact with the speaker or the trainer, and you can ask questions immediately. So that's another one as well. Other things, I guess I'll share it when it actually comes to fruition. So that's what I would share for now. Yeah.
Yeah, I will be looking for really looking forward for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in the future, will you publish more books like more about SEO or maybe digital property or something like that?
Okay, that's a good question. Because I actually, the book that I wrote, in some ways, of course, I know there's a lot of improvements can be made because it's my first one, and this is also a book that I co-authored with few other authors, so it doesn't
Yeah.
feel like it's from me 100%. I would say I think that I would write another book, but not specifically in SEO. I think it's more about the digital space or digital properties, like you said. I think that would be more impactful and a lot more people can read, because I think if you want to find a really, really good subject matter expert, is someone who's really entrenched in SEO. All they do is that, right? But I know I'm not that kind of person. I'm more of like a very rounded business person, I would say. It's just that in my current timeline or my path has been SEO or digital marketing is my way of earning like a living or earning a business and improving my business acumen. But I know I would definitely expand a bit further than just the digital space. There's a lot more other things I want to do. After all, I'm only 21, 29. Hopefully, if my panjang umur, I can actually get to a certain age and build better things and help more people lah. Yeah. So
So
that's
can
why where I aspire to go.
I see. Okay. So honestly speaking, how do you feel about this guest interview?
How do I feel so far?
Uh,
I think you guys put a very well thought out questionnaire that if you realize, right, the question you asked from the start from 11 o'clock, it feels like just you, you just dismantled my past and I just put it online. You know,
yeah. Okay.
like without having me to try to explain, oh, this is how I started, this is where I am or what I want to go. So I think it's a really good session. I feel relaxed, and the questions that you ask are not too intrusive, but it forces me to open up on things to make sure that it has context. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you ask question in a very direct way, oh, hey Nabil, do you want to do more SEO in the future? Yes. Right? But rather
Yeah, why?
your questions just made me like, okay, let me unpack it a little bit. So I just hope that this session can add value to the people who are listening, and that is why I would say yes to this kind of like interviews. And I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. And I didn't go too long on certain answers. I apologize in advance
Yeah.
if I
It's
did,
okay.
but yeah, thank you for having me.
So would you recommend any people to have a guest interview with us as well?
Of course, I have a few people in my mind, but I guess I have to talk to you privately to think like, okay, maybe this
Oh.
person can be on this call and whatnot. I
Or
do have
maybe
a few people
or
that I
maybe
can.
Mr. Shaw, the VP of Business Development. I can
Who?
see that he is a very
Shane.
talented
Oh,
MCO.
yes. You can. I don't know whether he wants to or not. He's that type of person, but I can definitely recommend him to be able to do that because he is my local partner. Yeah,
Mm.
he's the VP of Business Development. He has also been recently very very active in helping a
Yeah.
lot of our clients in Facebook ads. So
Mm.
maybe it's good you can get him on board and interview him for 1 hour. It'll be quite interesting.
Oh, so currently Sean is more focusing on Facebook marketing, right?
So yes, he focused on two areas right now. So because there was a need for Facebook marketing, and then
Mm-hmm.
Shane wanted to focus on that. Like he wants to say, okay, I know the basics, I know how to start, and we actually been getting good results for our clients. So he said like, why don't I expand a little bit more on there, and then we can expand BlackGrid's offerings. And I focus a lot more on SEO. His understanding in SEO for the past 1.5 years has grown tremendously. I would say I would say 2 years already. Because from the start he didn't know anything about SEO. It's just okay, it's about ranking. But after a while he goes through this process. He goes to meetings and all that. Now he can just like okay, SEO is like this and all that. So he focuses on these two areas. If you realize, right, Zach,
Mm.
on LinkedIn, he posts a lot more on about
Yeah.
SEO, right? But
Okay.
if we do get clients that make sense for us to do Facebook ads, then he will be the one who's going to be in charge.
I
Yeah.
see. Okay, so for you audience out there, I actually struck a deal with Mr. Nabil here as well. I kind of twist his arm a little bit lah. Okay,
Okay.
so if you need a professional audit for your website, this is your opportunity. The deal is that
Ah,
BlackGrid will audit your website for you, totally free of charge, no string attached. So you can have your website to get higher ranking in the search engine as well.
Mhm.
But the deal is that the first 10% only will get audited. So do let us know in the comment section if you need your website audited. Mr. Nabil, do you have anything to add about this kind of service?
Yeah. So that audit is actually a good start for you to think about whether you want to do SEO, whether it makes sense to you or not. Because once you have a website, sometimes your website was not built the right way. So this audit will help you to show these are the things that are working well for your website. Okay, fine, you get a gate score from it. But if they are not working for you, the report will actually explain to you why is it supposed to be changed and why you need to change it to something else. So then it can help you with SEO because with SEO there are two parts into it, right? But the audit that we'll be sharing with you will be a very very good start, and of course it's free. Usually this kind of audit will cost you around $500 to
yes,
$1,000. So
correct.
if you get this for free, then why not, right? So it's a good thing that Zach pulled my arm for this and then trying to bring you guys. But okay, it's fine. We are all Malaysians. We're helping each other. So take this opportunity to actually uh, see where you're at and try and improve because digital is here to stay and it's the future. So don't procrastinate because if you do, you might actually get left behind.
Mm.
Okay, so before we end our interview, is there anything you would like to say to our audience, Mr. Nabil?
Yeah. So I think I would leave with a quote for myself that I actually hold dear to myself is take the first step and everything else will be okay or be figured out on its own, or
Mm.
because the hardest thing for you to do is always take that first step. Because imagine if I didn't take that first step when I first wanted to start BlackGrid, I don't think I'll be here. I'll be maybe somewhere I don't know, right?
Mm.
And secondly is I think this is also something that I share with my family and myself. I would say that there is nothing that is worthwhile or good will come that fast or easy. So
Mm.
sometimes when you want to build something that is meaningful, something that you know is big, it will not come easy, it will not come fast. If it does, hey, congratulations to you, you're lucky. But most of the time, you have to put in the work and you have to realize that it takes a lot more to get to your dreams. But if you take the first step and you apply this, you will somehow have the patience to wait for that long, to build something that is meaningful for yourself.
See. So thank you very much, Mr. Nabil, for editing our little guest interview.
Thank you, Zach. Thank you, Tira. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
And thank you to the audience with us that stay with us until the end. And I would like to know what you think of this guest interview. So do leave a comment in the comment section below. So until next time, take care and stay cultivated. Have a good day.
Thank you. You've
Thank you.
improved, Zach. So don't worry. Don't be too nervous.
Okay, I'll be ending the stream now.
Okay.
Okay.
Remember to subscribe, guys. Okay. Thank you.